Monday morning, 7:14 a.m. I was in my kitchen, coffee in hand, scrolling LinkedIn before the office. Normal routine until I saw it. Anna's engagement photo, her hand raised toward the camera, a diamond ring catching the light. The biggest smile I had ever seen on her face. The man next to her, arm around her waist, was not me. I set my coffee down, read her caption, saying yes to my person. Read it twice. Then I called her. She picked up on the second ring, voice completely calm, no hesitation. Just Anna answering like nothing in the world was wrong. I said, "Anna, what is this?" She said, "Arthur, I never said I was your girlfriend. You assumed that." She spent 18 months with this person. Before I get into what happened next, let me tell you what those full 18 months looked like. I need you to understand this. My name is Arthur. I am 32, a financial analyst at Meridian Capital Advisors in Boston. My job is to look at data, find patterns, and figure out where things are heading before the market does. I apply that same approach to everything outside work. I read lease agreements before signing. I research restaurants before making reservations. My sister Claire says it is exhausting. My colleague Ryan calls it a superpower. But with Anna, I stopped checking. I trusted what I saw, and what I saw, every day for a year and a half, looked exactly like a relationship. I met Anna Reeves at an industry happy hour in March of last year. She works as a senior accountant at Hargrove & Associates, an audit firm near my office. We were introduced through a mutual contact and talked in a corner for most of the evening. She texted me first. Suggested drinks at night, Shift Brewing in Everett. We went. Then we went again. Dates became weekly. Sleepovers started. By month 3, I was no longer going home on Sunday nights. Month 6. She met my parents in Providence. My mom hugged her at the door. My dad made pot roast. My aunt asked Anna if she liked kids. Month 8, I gave her a spare key to my apartment. Month 11, she said I love you first. We were on my couch, not really watching whatever was on. She said it quietly, like something she had already decided. I said it back. I meant it. Month 14, she came to New York with me for my cousin's birthday. My whole extended family called her Arthur's girlfriend all weekend. She never corrected anyone, not once. Month 16, we talked about moving in together. She said she liked the South End. I started going to open houses on Saturdays. If that isn't a relationship, I don't know what word applies. So, the man in Anna's photo was Daniel Whitmore, partner at Ashford Capital Partners, a private equity fund. Here in Boston, older, well-connected, the kind of person who makes a room feel smaller just by walking in. Here's the detail I keep returning to. I know exactly where Anna met. Daniel, 8 months ago, I brought her to the Boston Finance and Investment Forum at the Weston Copley Place. I introduced them myself, said Daniel. This is Anna. Then I went to get drinks. When I came back, they were still talking. I thought she was networking. I was actually proud of her. I thought nothing of it. Sitting at my kitchen table Monday morning, I did what I do at work. Built a timeline, ran it backward, tried to find where the data stopped matching the story I had been telling myself. Saying yes to my person. 8 months ago she met him. At an event I brought her to, when I called her, and she said those words. I did not raise my voice. I listened while she talked. She said we had never officially defined the relationship, that she had always valued what we had, that she had never actually used the word girlfriend, that she was sorry for the miscommunication. 18 months of shared holidays, house keys, and I love you. And she landed on miscommunication. I told her I needed to go. She said okay. I hung up. I sat at that table for 45 minutes. My coffee went cold. Then I put on my jacket and went to work. Saturday through 2 client calls, answered emails, functioned. But when I got home that evening, I saw her spare key sitting on my kitchen counter, the one I gave her so she could come and go whenever she wanted. I had never asked for it back. I picked it up and held it. In finance, asymmetric exposure means one side of a position carries all the downside risk while the other stays protected. I had been carrying every bit of the downside without ever realizing she had taken none of the risk. I posted here because I need an honest outside read, not sympathy. Just tell me if I am missing something obvious. There is also something connected to work that I haven't mentioned yet. I am not ready to put it all out there because I am still processing what it means. But I want to be upfront. This story may be more complicated than it looks right now. I thought this was a breakup. I am starting to think it might be something else entirely. Update 1. Everyone keeps telling me to move on. Arthur, you deserve better. I appreciate that. But this week, I found out something that makes quiet. Moving on impossible. This is no longer just a relationship story. Once I explain what I found, I think you will understand why. The original post got more responses than I expected. I want to be clear about why I read them, not to feel better. To check if I was wrong about something, I approached it the way I approach a bad trade. Step back, look at the data again, find the error in my own thinking. I didn't find one. What Anna and I had was a real relationship. The you assumed framing doesn't hold up under any reasonable reading of 18 months. But that wasn't what kept me up at night. On Wednesday, Ryan asked me to lunch. Ryan Shaw, my closest colleague at Meridian, 3 years working together. One of maybe 4 people I would call an actual friend. He texted Tuesday night and said we needed to talk in person. We went to a place on Boylston Street. He waited until after we ordered. Then he put his phone down and said, "I have to tell you something I should have told you 4 months ago. And I am sorry he knew about Anna and Daniel. Not everything, but enough." A contact of his in the industry mentioned it at a networking dinner in October, said Daniel Whitmore had been seeing someone in audit. Someone he met at an event. Ryan put it together. He told himself it was probably nothing. Not certain enough. Didn't want to blow things up over something he couldn't confirm. I listened. Then I said, "Next time, just tell me. I would rather deal with the truth than find out you were protecting me from it." He nodded. Then he said, "There is one more thing the contact told me. I didn't think it mattered then. It probably does now." Daniel didn't run into Anna by accident. After the forum, he asked around about her. Wanted to know who she was, where she worked. And according to Ryan's contact, Daniel knew she was with someone when he reached out. He knew. He didn't care. So Daniel pursued her with full knowledge. Anna accepted that pursuit. While we were going to open houses on Saturdays, while her spare key was still sitting on my counter, I drove back to the office and sat at my desk, and I built a timeline. I specialize in mid-cap tech and healthcare stocks. Part of my job is identifying undervalued companies before the market catches up. In September, I was deep in research on a healthcare company I believed was significantly underpriced. The report wasn't public yet. I talked about it with Anna, not formally, just the way you talk about work when you are on the couch together on a Thursday night. I told her the company name, my thesis, and that I expected the stock to move once the report came out. In October, a fund took a large position in that exact stock. The fund was Ashford Capital Partners. The stock moved 34% in the 6 weeks after my report published. I want to be precise. I don't have direct proof of anything. What I have is a timeline I cannot explain away. A conversation with Anna in September, an Ashford position in October, a 34% move in November. In this industry, the SEC has a specific term for examining that kind of sequence. They call it an inquiry. I am not claiming Anna passed information to Daniel. I am not claiming he acted on it. I am saying I cannot confirm that neither of those things happened. In financial services, that inability to confirm is itself a serious problem. That same afternoon, Anna texted me for the first time since I hung up last Monday. She said she was sorry for how she had phrased things on our call, that she had always valued what we had, that the situation had been complicated for her. No mention of Daniel, no mention of the engagement, just an apology for word choice. Last line, "You know how much I care about you, but we were never officially exclusive." I read it 3 times. Then I forwarded it to my personal attorney. My attorney is Patricia Holt. On Tremont Street. She listened to everything and told me to document it all and consider one more step. That step was self-reporting to my firm's compliance department. I know how that sounds, but in financial services, self-reporting is almost always better than being found later. It is one of the first things you learn. If there is a potential issue connected to your work, you surface it yourself before anyone else does. You protect your own record. I went to Gregory Falk, our compliance officer at Meridian, on Thursday morning. I laid out the full timeline, the conversations with Anna, the Ashford position, the dates. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "You were right to come here." That afternoon, I walked out of his office and checked my phone. Missed call from an unknown number. I called back 3 rings. Then a voice I had never heard before, steady and deliberate. "Arthur, this is Daniel Whitmore. I think we need to talk update 2 when the man who took 18 months of your life calls you directly. There are 2 possibilities. He wants to explain himself, or he wants to find out how much you already know." Daniel Whitmore was the second kind. His voice was calm, measured. The tone of someone accustomed to sitting across tables from people who want something from him. He said, "Arthur, I know this is awkward. Anna mentioned you might have some misunderstandings about your relationship with her." Misunderstandings, 18 months. And that was the word he chose. He kept talking, said these situations get complicated, emotions, cloud judgment, and hoped we could handle it like reasonable adults. Then, if you approach this the right way, I think it could be better for everyone. I said, "Have you spoken with Meridian's compliance department yet?" 4 seconds of silence. I counted each one. The call ended there. Within 20 minutes, my phone started moving. 3 missed calls from Anna. I didn't pick up. Then the texts. First, "Arthur, please. This is not a legal issue. Don't make this more complicated than it needs to be." 30 minutes later, "I know I hurt you. I am genuinely sorry. Can we please just talk in person?" Then, "I still care about you. I need you to know that." I read all of it, responded to none of it. For 18 months, she never once called herself my girlfriend. But the moment things moved into legal territory, suddenly she still cared. I saved every message and forwarded screenshots to Patricia. That evening, I drove to my sister Claire's place in Somerville. Claire is a nurse practitioner and the most practical person I know. The only one I hadn't told any of this to. I laid out the whole thing from the beginning. The LinkedIn photo, the phone call, Ryan's lunch, the stock timeline, Gregory, Daniel's call, Anna's texts. Claire listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Are you okay?" "Not okay, like functioning." "Actually okay." I thought about it. Then I said, "I am sad, but not the way I expected." I am not sad about Anna. I am sad because I thought I was good at reading risk. "Turns out I had a blind spot in the area that mattered most," Claire said. "That isn't a blind spot in you. That is her knowing exactly how to build something that looked real." I have been thinking about that ever since. 2 days after Daniel's call, a message came from someone I know through industry circles. Works at a different firm. Overlaps with Ashford's network. Short message. He had noticed Anna at Ashford Capital events. Not once or twice. At least 4 in the past 6 months. Events that are typically invitation only, he said. "I figured she was there with you." Then I saw the engagement and realized she hadn't been there with you for a while. 4 Ashford events in 6 months. While she was still coming to my apartment. While her key was on my counter, I went back through my own memories of those Thursday evenings. The times I walked her through a sector thesis or explained why I was watching a specific company. I hadn't thought of those conversations as anything other than talking about my day. I was looking at them very differently now. Ryan called Thursday morning with something new. He had kept digging and found out that Hargrove and Associates had recently picked up an audit engagement for a mid-size manufacturing company in New Hampshire. The client was going through a financial review as part of an acquisition process. The acquiring party was Ashford Capital Partners. Anna's firm was auditing a company that her own fiancé's fund was looking to buy. An auditor has access to internal financials, operational data, and forward projections that no outside party is supposed to see before a deal closes. That access, combined with what she may have heard from me about sector trends and comparable valuations, put her squarely at the center of a conflict of interest that any compliance policy would treat as a serious violation. I am not a prosecutor. I don't have a perfect chain of evidence. But I have spent 10 full years learning to look at a set of data points and ask whether the pattern is explainable by coincidence. What I was looking at did not look like coincidence to me. I submitted additional documentation to Gregory at Meridian. My attorney Patricia sent a formal letter to Anna requesting written confirmation about how any information shared between us had been used. Specific, professional, 14 days to respond, Anna didn't respond at all. Daniel didn't respond either. In finance, silence in response to a formal inquiry is never good. It means the other side has lawyers, and their lawyers have said not to put anything in writing. 3 weeks after that letter went out, I received an email from the HR department at Hargrove and Associates. They wanted to speak with me as a third party in an internal review they were conducting. The email was professional and gave nothing away about the scope. Anna had no idea I had been contacted. Final update in finance. There is a principle everyone learns early. Markets self-correct. You can manipulate a position for a while, but fundamentals always win. I learned that in a classroom, it took until 6 months ago for me to understand how completely it applies to real life. The HR meeting at Hargrove happened 2 weeks after I received their email. I went in, sat across from 2 people I had never met, and gave them everything. The full timeline. Screenshots of every text Anna sent after the LinkedIn photo. My notes from the conversations about the healthcare stock. The dates. All of it. They were not surprised by any of it. That told me something. I found out later through Gregory what had triggered their internal review. Hargrove requires employees to flag any personal relationship with a party connected to an active audit engagement. Anna hadn't disclosed her relationship with Daniel. The engagement wasn't publicly announced until after the acquisition review had already been underway for 2 months. Someone at Hargrove noticed. Then HR found out I had already self-reported at Meridian and wanted my timeline to cross-reference. 3 weeks after that meeting, Gregory told me Anna had been placed on administrative leave while Hargrove completed its review. Around the same time, Ryan heard the engagement between Anna and Daniel had been quietly postponed, not canceled publicly, just no longer active. Daniel didn't want the optics of a public announcement, while compliance reviews were ongoing at both firms. In this industry, perception matters almost as much as fact. Meridian's compliance team flagged the Ashford position to the SEC as part of their standard process. I was a witness, not a subject. Gregory confirmed my record was completely clean. Whether anything came of the SEC review for Daniel or Ashford, I don't know. I stopped following it. Not my case. About a month later, Anna sent a long email, longer than anything she had sent me in 18 months together. She said she was genuinely sorry, not for the word choice. Actually sorry. She said she knew how the situation looked, that she had never meant to hurt me. And then, she had been scared of how serious things were getting, didn't know how to handle it, and keeping things undefined had felt like a way to hold her options open without making a hard choice. She wasn't scared of how serious we were getting. She was scared of having to choose. Once she chose Daniel, she needed a story that made her look less like someone running 2 tracks at once. You assumed we were together was that story. It put the confusion on me instead of the decision on her. I didn't reply. I didn't block her. I left it there, the way you leave a closed file in a drawer. Resolved, not worth reopening. Ryan apologized again a few weeks later, properly this time. Said he should have told me the moment he heard something and that he had let his own discomfort get in the way. I told him I understood, but I also said, next time you see me heading towards something that looks wrong, just tell me. I would rather deal with the truth. He nodded. We are closer now than before any of this. Honesty does that. 6 months out. Here is where I am. Gregory recommended me for a promotion, senior financial analyst at Meridian, effective last month. His recommendation noted that I had handled a professionally sensitive situation with integrity. I didn't hear that from him directly, but word moves through a firm. I stopped looking at houses in the South End. Instead, I bought a 1-bedroom in Cambridge near Central Square. I picked it because I liked it, not because someone else said they liked the neighborhood. I have been talking to someone new. A woman Claire introduced me to, a physical therapist in Brookline. We have been out a few times. It is early. When it started feeling like something real, I asked her directly what she was looking for and where she saw things going. Slightly awkward conversation. We both laughed. And then we both had an actual answer. Awkward and honest beats comfortable and assumed. I know that now for certain. One morning last week, I opened LinkedIn before coffee. 2 notifications. Anna had unfollowed me. Daniel had posted a career update, a new role at a smaller fund. Ashford Capital was no longer in his title. I closed the app, made my coffee, opened the spreadsheet I had been working on the night before. I used to think I had missed signals, That somewhere in 18 months I had failed to read something obvious. I don't think that anymore. Anna knew exactly what she was doing. She was counting on me, never seeing the full picture. In finance, we call that information asymmetry. One side knows more than the other. The side that knows less always carries more risk. But asymmetry never holds forever. At some point, the information becomes visible. The position corrects. The market finds its level. That is what happened here. And where I stand now is exactly where I should be.